What's up, Disney dudes and dudettes? In this video, I'll be doing my movie review of the Peter Pan and Wendy movie coming up.
I'm gonna do what I do, put it all together, ain't nothing better, I'm gonna do.
Disney has released another live-action remake, this time with Peter Pan, titled Peter Pan and Wendy. So in this video, I'll give you my thoughts and breakdown of the movie, what I liked about it, what I didn't like, and what I think they could have improved on. So without further ado, let's get into it. So in the beginning of the film, we see that Wendy is packing up for boarding school since it's her last night in the nursery. This was a very interesting detail that I'm glad that they added to the movie. It did explain why it would be her last night in the nursery. But watching the film, I have to say, I was totally unimpressed with Wendy. You know, watching the animated film, Wendy is supposed to be sweet and a great sister and almost like a motherly figure to the Lost Boys. But in this version, she's very rough around the edges, kind of like a tomboy. She literally lies and blames the boys for something that she did. Not to mention, she's practically arguing with Peter the entire movie, which is kind of exhausting. Personally, I think that the movie should have followed more of the Peter Pan Broadway play, you know, the one with Kathy Rigby, which is absolutely the best adaptation of Peter Pan I've ever seen, other than the Disney film, of course, and should have casted Millie Bobby Brown in the role of Wendy. Definitely following the Broadway play, I think that she would have been absolutely perfect. She's got great acting skills. I could totally see her in the role of Wendy. Okay, next up is Peter Pan, and I have to say the original 1953 version and the Kathy Rigby versions are definitely my favorite. They definitely bring the character to life. But in this version of Peter Pan, there's definitely no life in him whatsoever. He literally is unlikable. He's very rude. Granted, the original is rude and childish, but you still love him and want to, root for him as the good guy. But this one, there was definitely an unlikable quality to him, almost as if they were doing it on purpose, which comes to our conclusion that they may have done this on purpose because in actuality, Peter Pan was the villain. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. What? Dude, you are crazy. But hear me out. Fans were literally questioning the 1953 version after listening to this theory, and I have to say, it sounded pretty plausible, but very unlikely. Until Peter Pan and Wendy. Not only does Peter Pan and Wendy confirm one aspect of the theory, that Captain Hook at one time was a former Lost Boy, but it also goes on to support the idea that Peter serves as a personal tyrant over at least the Lost Boys and not Neverland itself. While these story adjustments work to make an engaging adaptation, it simply doesn't recreate the iconic nostalgia from the original film. In the film, it is confirmed by Peter himself that he and Captain Hook, whose actual name was James, were actually best friends. Peter also states that Captain Hook was actually the first Lost Boy to come to Neverland, but not just that. He tells Wendy that the reason why he and James became enemies is because James wanted to leave Neverland and grow up. Now, the reason why people are thinking that the theory is true is because later on in the film, Captain Hook has a conversation with Wendy, and in that conversation, he literally reveals the true reason why he left Neverland. It wasn't because of his own free will. It was because Peter banished him because James wanted to actually see his mother. When I heard this in the movie, I was like, what is going on? And on top of this betrayal from Peter, he literally cuts off Captain Hook's hand, thereby making him Captain Hook. Man, Peter really is a terrible friend in this film. However, at the end of the film, I did like that it actually showed Peter apologizing to Captain Hook for being such a terrible friend. This, I thought, was a very good quality. Honestly, it was the only Peter quality that I saw in the entire film. I also liked at the end of the film that it showed that Peter Pan and Captain Hook would be best friends once again. Personally, I think that they should have done Tom Holland as Peter Pan. From his looks to his personality, he literally embodies the Peter Pan that I envisioned that they should have done. I don't know about you, but literally the only character for me that was the most entertaining and really stole the show, in my opinion, was Tiger Lily. I really loved this new version of her. It was very reminiscent of that of Pocahontas, and for me, she really stole the show. I think it was really cool that they casted an actress that was Native American. I think that was just a really cool attention to detail right there, and I really liked how, other than the 1953 film, how we really saw her story and expanded on it. I also loved seeing more fight scenes with her. I think it was really cool. Not to mention the other character that we have to talk about is the crocodile. Honestly, he literally stole the show as well. The action scenes with the crocodile, I wish there were more because literally it was like Jurassic Park. It was so cool. Okay, so let's talk about Captain Hook. He's one of the many iconic Disney villains, so pulling off this character alone can be pretty intimidating. What I like about this version of the character is that they actually gave him a backstory that makes sense and actually adds a little bit more depth to the character and explains why he became a villain. Unfortunately, Jude Law's version doesn't replicate the same charisma that we know of Captain Hook. In fact, Jude Law's version looks like he's very unkempt and just disheveled and just doesn't have it together. Also, can we talk about the fact that Hook is old and has gray hair? This is definitely different than the film and also just doesn't make any sense because I thought nobody ages at Neverland. Okay, so let's talk about Mr. Smee. What I liked about this version is that they actually gave him a little bit of backstory as well. He was actually the one that saved Captain Hook when Captain Hook was stranded at sea. This alone is a really cool detail that adds a lot more depth to the character, than what we see in the original film. But unfortunately, this character is very washed out in this version and doesn't have the funny, clumsy charm that we all know and love about Smee. Okay, so let's talk about now the Lost Boys. When I saw that the trailer had Lost Girls and Lost Boys, I was a bit confused because in the Kathy Rigby play, it states that the reason why there are Lost Boys and not Lost Girls is because girls are too smart to fall out of their carriages, which is so hilarious and can be true at times. Not to mention, the original reason why the Lost Boys wanted Wendy to begin with was because, number one, she was a girl, and number two, as a girl, she was kind of a motherly figure that they could rely on to tell stories and do all the things that a motherly figure would do. So, in this case, it kind of definitely defeats the purpose. Not to mention, it doesn't help that Wendy says that she doesn't want to be a mother at all. It's like, then why are you here, girl? Okay, so let's talk about Tinkerbell. In this version, we definitely see a totally different take on the character, and it's not one that, in my opinion, is memorable. When we think about Tinkerbell, we think of that sassy, funny, not afraid to show her attitude kind of pixie. But in this version, we get a nicer, watered-down version that's kind of like a mime for the majority of the film version of the character that literally only speaks at the end of the movie. Personally, I think the actress that played Tinkerbell should have been Iridessa. She literally looks exactly like the character, and it also would have been really cool if they had shown Pixie Hollow. If Disney was going to do a more traditional route for Tinkerbell, I think Margot Robbie would have been absolutely perfect. Not to mention, at one time she was even being considered for the role. Okay, and then there was a couple of things that they either missed or forgot or just, didn't explain well in the movie. Okay, first off, the scene where they're trying to fly for the first time. They literally walk outside the window. Kids, do not try this at home, please. Take my word for it. We literally get to see mermaids for one split second in the film, and it's literally when they're flying over the water. And come to think of it, they don't even really look like mermaids. They actually look more like Ursula, in my opinion. Also, what didn't make sense is the fact that Mr. Darling and Captain Hook were completely different actors. Originally in the play and in Broadway, it's literally the same actor for both. Also, a little cool fun fact is that Joaquin Phoenix, the guy who played Joker, he was originally going to be casted for Captain Hook. I'm actually kind of unsure why they even casted Alan Tudyk, I'm hopefully saying that right, as Mr. Darling. He really doesn't look like the character at all, and it definitely breaks tradition. The only reason why I can think of why they have him is because he's practically a good luck charm when it comes to Disney movies. He's the voice of King Candy in Wreck-It Ralph, the Duke of Weselton in Frozen, the Squirrel in Disenchanted, and a bunch of other Disney characters that you wouldn't even believe. Okay, and we definitely have to talk about that green, and I think you know what I mean. Throughout the entire film, you'll notice that literally the color grade is completely green. Like seriously, from London to Neverland, it's green. Everything is green. Like seriously, you would think that this is a Disney villain movie because if it was that much green, we obviously should be concerned. And if you notice, every single Disney villain in Disney history usually has the color lime green, showing, hey, this person is bad news, stay away. Could explain why Peter Pan is the villain in Peter Pan and Wendy. There was a lot of green, and I mean a lot. Now, it's one thing to have the real world have that green color, but to have Neverland to have the same green color as well is a definite no-no. When I think of Neverland, I think of Mary Blair's animations. They're that really beautiful, pastel, vibrant colors that really catch your eye. And this movie definitely did not have that at all. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any thoughts about what you liked or disliked about Peter Pan and Wendy, I would love to know. Leave a comment down below, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon so you can be notified every Thursday when we have a new video. And as always, have a Disney